my honeys, and welcome to my channel. This is Crime and Tea Time, and I'm so happy that you are joining me today. Today we'll be talking about the disappearance of Dervish Adili. He disappeared on August 13th, 1992, and he was about 35 years old at the time that he disappeared. Not much is known about him, so I will give you guys a description of him and then get into the story, which kind of pains me because I love to tell you guys about the background and about the family life of these people that we talk about, because they are more than just victims or more than just simply a case. But nonetheless, I will tell you guys about his description. So he was 5'7" with brown hair and brown eyes. He was about 35 years old at the time that he went missing, and he is believed to have been an Army veteran, simply from the portraits and from what Reddit has been able to find out about him. There was also one small news article from the Chicago Tribune, I believe, of him when he was 9 years old and he was dancing in the Albanian American parade that day. And that was pretty much all that was able to have been found. It is believed that the people that were with him in those pictures were either his siblings or his cousins. In the year 2000, Dervish's personal items had been found along the Taylor Highway at a campsite near Tok, Alaska. So what had been found that day was his wallet, his ID, his driver's license, which was an Illinois driver's license, as well as some camping supplies and his checkbook. There was also a receipt there, and that receipt is kind of what everybody is clinging to and what everybody is believing was the day that he disappeared on, because that small receipt had been dated August 13th, 1992, and it was for a small little store that was in Tok, and he had just gathered some food, I believe, from there, and that is all that is known. And that key part of evidence is what everybody is really holding on to and believing that that was the day that he had disappeared. What I am really curious about is how were those items able to have withstood the weather and the elements all of those years? Because if that receipt was from 1992 and it had been discovered in 2000, what condition were the items left in? That's what I would love to know. And how had other campers, not seen it over the past 8 years? That is something that I'm just kind of confused about. Did it look brand new? That's just something I would love to know more about. Also, let me know if you guys are interested in knowing about the condition, because I feel like that is so important. Like, was everything crumpled up and just tossed aside? That's what I'm really curious to know. But there was no evidence of Dervish in that area, and there hasn't been no sightings of him since August 13th, 1992. Something else is that he was not reported until 6 years after those items were found, and 14 years after it is believed that he had gone missing. So it is believed that either his cousin or his brother, I'm not really able to confirm that, but they do have the same last name, had reported him missing to the Alaskan State Troopers at the time in October 2006. So there are so many questions about this case. I just found myself asking question after question. A big question is, was he estranged from his family? And maybe that was why they hadn't spoken in all of those years. And maybe that's why that person had not known where he had been for all of these years. Or another idea that I had was that maybe they had spoken prior to him going to Alaska, and maybe he had said, like, I'm just trying to find myself, I want to start a new life over, and his family was respecting that and didn't want to bother him, so they allowed him to just go on. Also, another thing that we have to keep in mind, like, cell phones were not around at that time, and we weren't in constant contact like we are today. So when somebody spoke to you, they likely only spoke to you a few times a month, and that was just kind of okay. And maybe in the few years that had passed, they just assumed that he had started over a new life and didn't want to bother him with what was going on. I don't know, those are simply just ideas that I had come up with. And there's so little information in this case, and I feel like I sound like a broken record just saying that over and over again, but there is a huge lack of evidence. There is a lack of understanding as well. Like, why did he go from Chicago, where it was his home state, I believe, to Alaska? Like, what brought him so far? A theory that I have on that, and it's because I am an Albanian American, and I know a lot of people in the 90s had gone to Alaska a lot of Albanians had gone to Alaska looking for work and labor jobs that were paying a lot better than jobs were in their home state. And so they had gone to Alaska to work. And I think that could be a possibility. Maybe Dervish had heard about that and he decided to go and join along. It is a possibility that he had not found work and was just kind of living life. Because he had gone camping and gone to that campsite that day, there was probably likely nothing leaving him attached to the area. What I would love to know more about is, was there an apartment? Did he have a house? Did he have a roommate? Was he like sharing a space with somebody else? Where was he staying throughout this time? Or was he just simply wandering throughout Alaska and camping wherever? Because I was able to look up that you can camp essentially anywhere in Alaska. I mean, not that you should, because there are some areas that have a lot more animals and wildlife, but it's still a possibility that he was just wandering through Alaska. What I would also love to know more about, and I'm sorry I'm just coming in with questions this video, is was this a popular campsite? What I was able to find, there are quite a few campsites and quite a few that are off the Taylor Highway, which is the biggest main highway that I was able to find in their area. So was this a popular one, or was this something that not a lot of people had gone to? And maybe that's why his supplies hadn't been seen in about 8 years and hadn't been discovered by another camper. Also, Tak had a very small population. In the year 1990, it had a population of 935 people. And when I looked at it in 2010, it had not grown that much more. I wasn't able to find a time closer to ours, so 2010 was the last census that was taken, and the population had grown to 1,000 people. So there wasn't much growth, and I don't believe there are many new people. Also, this area was extremely far from other major cities. So from Fairbanks, it was about 3 to 4 hours, and from Anchorage, it was about 6 hours. So he was quite far from the biggest major cities that were around him. Let's talk about Tak. So this is just a small town. There weren't that many jobs. I believe their unemployment rate at this point is about 8%. And the jobs that are the most well-known in Tak are construction, healthcare, and accommodation, which is like hotels. So there aren't that many jobs to be had, and there aren't that many opportunities to be had. So I believe that he would have likely gone to a bigger city had he been going there for work. So let's talk about the theories in this case, and there are far and few, but I still wanted to discuss them nonetheless. The two most believed theories in this case are that he had gone camping and then he had simply succumbed to the elements. That one I kind of believe, and I keep going back and forth with it, because the lowest temperatures in August had been around 38 degrees Fahrenheit and the highest temperatures had been around 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So it wasn't too cold, but I believe if you weren't an experienced camper and had not brought the proper supplies, that could have likely been something that had happened to him. Also, another theory was that he had PTSD or an underlying mental illness and had gone camping and then decided to go into the woods and commit suicide, or simply allow the elements and the animals to take over, and that's how he passed. But what I have trouble believing was that he was already so far away from his family, so had it been something that he wanted to commit and no longer wanted to be alive, I don't believe that he would have had the fear of his family finding his body, because that's a simple reason why people don't do that in an area where their family would be near. But he was in an area so far away from his family, and I don't know why he would have taken the extremely painful and harsh way of committing rather than a simpler way. But let me know what you guys believe and what you think happened to Dervish. If you have any other possible theories, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. And there are just so many great minds out there. So maybe you thought of something that I didn't think about, or there was something that you know more about because you live in Alaska. Please let me know. I would love to hear your theories. Don't forget to be kind and stay sweet, my honeys, and have a great day.